So, hello everyone, it's the Cricket Connoisseur here, and welcome to the TCC preview show for the second Test match of the series between England and the West Indies, which is all set to start on Thursday, the 16th of July at Old Trafford in Manchester. Now, in today's preview show, I'm joined by Bajan commentator and analyst Nikhil Uttamchandani, and in today's show, we're going to be covering all of the bases of the series opener in Southampton, and of course, we're going to look forward as well to the second Test match of the series on Thursday. So, first things first, Nikhil, thank you very much for coming on today. And to kickstart the show, let's get your thoughts on the series opener. What did you make of that performance by the West Indies in Southampton?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great to be here back on the TCC podcast. Excellent win, as I said in the preview leading up. It really was a good win to go to England, to go anywhere away and win. A series opener is always great, and yeah, I was really proud of the fight that the guys showed and the determination. And I think they deserved the victory completely. I think we were the better side throughout the first test, and yeah, I'm happy. And I think that sets the precedent for the rest of this series, and don't be surprised if the West Indies win this series.
No, I said, funnily enough, I said in the previous show as well, whoever wins the first match probably goes on to win the series. Wouldn't be surprised if the West Indies do go on, whether they win this next match or whether they win the third one in Manchester. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But what's your real stand-up moment from that game? I mean, there were quite a few. You had the sixer from Jason Holder, you had Jermaine Blackwood's obviously match-winning 95. Which moment really stood out to you for the West Indies?
Probably the bowling at England in the first innings, the determination that the guys showed in terms of the bowling, their lines and lengths that they bowled. I thought they were spot on bowling full, attacking the stumps at England. And you could definitely tell they were doing their research. For example, balls cutting back into England, they usually struggle. Someone like a Joe Denley, for example, Shannon Gabriel did really well to dismiss him with the ball cutting back. So yeah, I definitely think it was a great execution by the West Indies bowlers, and I think that 204 all-out set up the entire Test match, and I think from there on, we were in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely. The first 2 days were pretty much dominated by the West Indies bowling attack, weren't they? Absolutely phenomenal stuff from Gabriel and Holder. What did you make of Kemar Roach's performance? Because obviously he was the only bowler who went wicketless, unless you're going to count Craig Brathwaite, but he only had 3 overs. What did you make of Kemar's performance?
Yeah, I thought he bowled really well. So it goes in Test cricket. I picked him to be the leading wicket taker in this series for the West Indies. So I expect him to come back fully. I know it did affect him a bit, but so it goes. I think he bowled really well and was really unlucky to not get a wicket in terms of keeping the pressure on at that end. So yeah, it's you always want to get a wicket, but you have those days in Test cricket. So he's experienced enough. I don't think that he'll let that bother him too much.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he did bowl quite well, and he was unlucky in the first innings not to have got a couple of wickets because the edges unfortunately didn't carry, did they? But yeah, I thought he bowled well. He was quite economic as well in comparison to other bowlers as well. So yeah, I'd agree. He was okay. Obviously, it's just a rub of the green sometimes, isn't it, in Test cricket? That's just how it is. But let's have a look slightly from an English perspective now. What really stood out to you from either England's batting or bowling performances?
Yeah, I thought, well, in terms of the bowling, I was really surprised. You've discussed many times the strength and depth of that English bowling. You have guys like Chris Woakes on the bench, Stuart Broad, probably one of the best Test bowlers ever on the bench, ever made the team. I was really shocked to see the English bowlers not attack the stumps enough. I thought they did not bowl enough wicket taking deliveries to the West Indies, especially in the first innings. And that 314 really, I thought they would have done a lot better, bowling to Craig Brathwaite and John Campbell late on, I think day 2 or day 3. But yeah, I was really surprised. The likes of Jofra, Mark Wood, Jimmy Anderson, I thought they were a tad flat, and you could allow for that being away from cricket for so long. And then
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out there, Nikhil. No problem.
Yeah, I was just saying, in the batting, both teams are vulnerable to collapse. Probably the West Indies were able to put together some partnerships, maybe a bit better than England, but England did have some good ones, where you would have expected to kick on. And yeah, I think that just goes down to the West Indies' ability to take wickets at crucial times. So overall, good performance with the West Indies, and probably a bit rusty by the English.
Yeah, I'd agree. And talking of rustiness, we'll talk about the umpiring as well in a bit. But yeah, I completely agree. The omission of Stuart Broad in particular. Just to give you some stats about Stuart Broad since 2019, so in the past year, 52 wickets. England's leading wicket taker by 19 wickets. Jofra Archer's second with 33. And his strike rate as well is absolutely incredible. I think it's about 52, got an average of 24. Far better. This is probably one of the best periods of Stuart Broad's bowling in his entire career. And for him to be left out of a series opener is kind of unthinkable, wasn't it, really? What did you make of that particular decision by the England selectors?
Well, obviously, we look at it in hindsight. No, it was obviously the wrong decision because they showed the West Indies bowlers, especially Jason Holder, getting 6 for in the first innings, that it's not all about pace. The English played their, fastest lineup. And the West Indies showed that it's not all about pace with Jason Holder taking 6. So in hindsight, it's easy to say it was a wrong decision, but I'm not sure, in terms of conditions, if the English read it wrong or, maybe they left out Stuart Broad for another reason. But what did you think of it? Were you surprised? Did you want Stuart Broad to play before the test, or you were okay with him sitting?
Well, I mentioned it in the previous show. He was in my 11. He was definitely in my 11. Him and Anderson as the tandem opening up the bowling with a new ball. I mean, you saw that Jimmy Anderson was generating some swing, especially in the second innings. But yeah, I imagine that we would have gone with those two up top and Archer almost as the strike weapon. As soon as the ball gets a little bit older, he can add the extra bit of pace, extra bit of bounce, as he showed to the likes of Shea Hope and Brathwaite in the second innings, really. But yeah, massively shocking for me because he was our standout bowler, as I said, in 2019. 19 wickets is a massive, massive difference between two top bowlers. I think Jimmy Anderson got about 22 as well. So Stuart Broad, in terms of just stats, in terms of how he's playing, he was everyone's favourite really to start for the series opener. And yeah, absolutely massive shock. He could have provided, I think, as you said, that good line and length, what Holder and Gabriel produced in the first innings in particular against England. And yeah, massive shock. Whether or not that, as you said, it could have been an off-the-field incident, I don't know. I'd hope it's not. There hasn't really been anything to suggest that it was. But I mean, even if it's just for like rest and rotation, surely Stuart Broad, 485 Test wickets, Stuart Broad, half of the most prolific opening attack in English history, has to play in a series opener. So for me, I was baffled. And yeah, as you said, didn't pay off for England. Kind of backfired.
Yeah, I think, just to add in quickly, I think that the amount of lateral movement the bowlers got in that last test, it was probably one of the, I actually read a stat, it was actually like more than normal in English tests. I think Stuart Broad, from the history that he has against West Indies, especially in England, could have been a completely different game if he had played. He's always posed a challenge to the West Indies, and he's just that wicket-taking bowler. So I found Mark Wood, yes, he did have express pace, but he didn't challenge the West Indian batsmen like a Jimmy Anderson, like a Jofra. So that could have been a way that Stuart Broad got in. But obviously, it didn't happen, and there's nothing we could do to change it now.
No, of course not. And obviously, as West Indies fan, I bet you're quite glad, weren't you, when that team...
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, moving on from the bowling now, let's go on to that final innings. Kay, let's talk about that Jermaine Blackwood performance because it's absolutely stunning. In the first innings, got up for 12, got out quite cheaply, didn't need to Dom Bess, trying to attack Dom Bess. Catch went straight to Jimmy Anderson. What did you make of Jermaine Blackwood's performance in that run chase?
Yeah, nothing surprising to me. I said after the first innings that I'm not going to go with the whole world and write him off because I think I've watched him in the domestic season and he scored 768 runs at a strike rate of 50-some, just about 54. So to me, I saw this year a new level of maturity, and he even said prior leading up to the series that he wanted to bat with more responsibility. So I knew, and I actually at 27 for 3 when he walked out there, I said, this is the ideal time. I actually said it for Shea Hope first and then for Blackwood. This is the ideal time for Blackwood to prove the world wrong. And so he did. Really good innings, 154 balls. He showed a lot of class in that innings, and we know he's got all the shots in the book. It's just about how he applies himself. And I have to give credit to a guy like Roston Chase as well.
Yeah.
He's faced 230 balls in the entire test, absorbed the pressure massively. Very unlucky not to kick on, but I think he got an unplayable ball from Jofra. And yeah, he's, to me, was one of the standout batsmen of that test for me because I think he's our best player spin. And I think, yeah, he's one of the main reasons. His ability to absorb the pressure allows guys like Shane Dowrich and Jermaine Blackwood to score freely. So hats off to the West Indies batters for sure, especially the lower order.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a very good point about Roston Chase. He completely nullified Dom Bess. I mean, Dom Bess went wicketless in that second innings, didn't really look the same player that he was in the first innings where he got 251. I agree, yeah, he was excellent. And as you said, it was an absolutely beautiful bouncer from Jofra Archer to dismiss him. And in terms of Blackwood as well, really good innings, fantastic, 95. I was kind of gutted for him, actually, when he didn't get a century. And I say that as an England fan, but he deserved it, didn't he, really? considering that he'd been through, what was it, 2-3 chances, got dropped by Butler on 19, then had the run-out opportunity with Crawley. But he was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was just about to say, England will feel really hard done by that they're not able to get him out, because they had so many opportunities. Even when Jason Holder came to the crease to run him out, and yeah, they did not capitalize. And I guess that's how it goes. You have to take your chances.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the way Test matches are, aren't they? Really, catches win matches. I know that's a bit cliche, but yeah, it did. That's exactly what proved to happen in this Test match. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our review of the first Test match of the series. West Indies pretty much thoroughly deserved that, in my opinion. The way in which they bowled, the way in which they batted with maturity in that second innings, absolutely fantastic. And yeah, thoroughly deserved the 1-0 series lead, in my opinion. So moving on now to the focus of this preview show, which is the second Test match. Begins in 2 days' time on Thursday, the 16th of July. It's at Old Trafford, a ground which is pretty much traditionally known for...
17th, yeah.
No, it's the 17th of July then, sorry. But
no, it's the 16th, you're right. Sorry. It's
the 16th, yeah. It's
right.
because of the time zone difference or something, it might be. But anyway, talking of Old Trafford, the pitch is usually known for being quite hard, quite bouncy. You can generate a bit of extra pace on there. And it's also quite known to be quite spin conducive, which would be very interesting for both sides, depending on the actual attacks they use. So heading into that second Test match, Nikhil, what do you think the West Indies are going to go with in terms of their bowling attack?
Personally, I think you could see the West Indies go with their unchanged 11. I think that's what they're going to do, because it's very rare that you see a side win a Test match and have subs. But personally, if I was a selector, I would say get Raheem Cornwall in this straight away. I think the problems he would pose to the English batsman, he would definitely be an asset with the ball. He's someone that gets a lot of drift and would be dangerous on that Old Trafford pitch, which I know does take spin. We could see him in the third Test if things don't go well for the West Indies. But yeah, I don't believe that they'll make changes. England, on the other hand, I know we're going to get to them.
Well, yeah, we'll just talk about Cornwall quickly, obviously, because we mentioned this a bit in the preview show, but 13 wickets, 7 for 75 against Afghanistan, took 10 wickets in that match, 22.6 on average, 49.6 strike rate. He's an excellent weapon to have in this West Indies attack, isn't he, really? But yeah, interesting. I'd probably agree with you. I don't think they'll change anything. I think even though Alzari Joseph might be the most likely candidate to have swapped out for Raheem Cornwall, he still bowled quite well. And at Old Trafford, if it's a hard, dry track and you've got that extra bit of bounce, I don't imagine they'll drop him for a spinner. I really don't.
No, I think Alzari showed he really redeemed himself in the second innings. That spell really is what kick-started Ben Stokes' dismissal, and that caused the collapse. So I think that is enough to save his place. So I expect to see an unchanged 11 in this Test.
Definitely. I will just pose one question, though. I probably know the answer, given the Barbados Tridents poster behind you. But would you drop Shai Hope? Would you be even slightly inclined to drop him?
I think, I would not to do with the Tridents or anything, but I don't think I would drop him, because I think maybe I would give him. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Anybody with an average under 26 and is struggling like him, and what is the difficult thing for me is that he looks so good when he's at the crease.
Yep.
You just think that he's gonna kick on, but then he doesn't, and it's really surprising. But so for that reason, just on the basis that he does look really competent when he's there at the crease, and it's not been like he's been completely rolled over out in 4 balls. I think the West Indies selectors may give him one more game and just see. But there's and the guys in the reserves. There's guys Nkrumah Bonner, that's a top order batsman that hasn't played as yet. So I don't think he'll be dropped this match. But if failures continue, I think he's walking on a very thin thread.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you what, I found this very, very interesting, actually. I was doing this on the old Stats Guru. But since 2019, 183 runs in 11 innings, 1 not out, I believe 1 score over 50 and an 18.3 average for a number 3 batsman. It's not been the greatest year or so for Shai Hope, has it?
No, it's not been great at all. But I'm hoping, and actually one thing I advocate for is for Shai Hope to bat at number 4. I think he would do a lot better there. I like the look of Shamar Brooks. In that last Test, I would like him to bat at 3. He's used to batting at 3 for Barbados, and I would like to see Shai Hope slot to that 4 position. I think it allows the team to sort of protect him, at the same time be able to bat around him like they did with the Roston Chase, with Dulwich as well. So yeah, I want to see Hope bat at 4. I think he'll get some more success there. So I'm hoping the West Indies try it in this next Test.
That's a great point. I think that is a great point, and they probably could. You've got the 1-0 series lead. There's nothing wrong with that experimentation between those two. As you said, Shamar Brooks looked fantastic for his 39. He was very unlucky not to have kicked on in that innings. Played some magnificent cover drives, for example. But yeah, just thought that was quite interesting analysis. Do you think that if Darren Bravo or Hetmeyer would have come on this tour, do you think they probably could have challenged him for that spot?
For sure, I think so. I think if they were on the tour, you may not have even seen Jermaine Blackwood in the team, so it could have been a completely different scenario. But now I definitely think yes, and at this point, you would have definitely seen them challenge. Maybe now his place may be safe because Nkrumah Bonner is not as experienced. He's never played a Test match before, so for that reason, they may just stick with Hope, the experience. But yeah, I definitely think if Hetmeyer or Bravo was there and one of them were sitting down, you would definitely see one of them come into the next test.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I do wish Hope the best of luck, because as you said, he looks really good. It is just really frustrating, though, isn't it? 'Cause he looks very good in the starting stage of the innings, and it's just one mistake. It's a bit like Denley for England, actually. I know Denley's a bit more kind of dig in. He's a bit more stubborn than Shea Hope, for example, not as free flowing. But again, it's just these little mistakes just creeping into their game, and it's just affecting them, isn't it, really? And talking of Joe Denley and the England team, Nikhil, what changes would you make? I mean, I've got a few in mind, but we'll start with your changes first.
Well, I hear everybody saying, drop Denley for Root, but obviously Crawley's not going to be dropped. I think Denley, honestly hasn't been that bad, Yes, he's not got a big score, but if you look at his starts, he's been very consistent. He's got a 20, a 30, a 40, so it's just about him kicking on and converting. But I think that's an option, the easy choice of Denley for Root. Another option is letting Ollie Pope. We could keep. I watched your live this morning where you were talking about it, but you didn't mention that. You mentioned bringing in Ben Folks, but Butler could go to the bench and you could bring Root in and keep the top order batting and just let Pope bat at 7. So there's a lot of different options there. I think Broad is going to come in for sure. Best may retain his place. I'm surprised Moeen Ali. Obviously, I think he's been in that ODI selection, but I'm surprised he hasn't been given a shout because I think, Best is good, but I don't think he was as effective. Ali is not really a big turner of the ball either, but he does have a good record in England. I mean, at the Aegis Bowl, he's the leading wicketaker there. So, but personally, I think if I was in England's shoes, I would keep Denley because at least he's getting a start and maybe drop someone like a Butler and let out Ollie Pope. We could keep, because when I saw Ben Folks when he came to the Caribbean, I don't know if I'm as convinced as yet, but you would know more seeing him in the county season.
Yeah, right. We'll dissect this then. We'll start with Ben Folks because he's the one. We'll end with Denley. I think there's the most to say about Denley. But in terms of Ben Folks, yes, I agree. I've got his stats in the Caribbean, and I understand why you say that. 2, 5, 35, and 13 wasn't great against the West Indies at all. And not only that, the second thing that's kind of played against him, unfortunately, was his 2019 County Championship. 575 runs, 26.1 average, and 550s with no hundreds. It was kind of the worst year for him, actually, in a number of seasons for Surrey. In terms of my just views on Ben Folks, I think in terms of technical ability behind the stumps, he's brilliant against the spin. He showed that in the Sri Lanka series, especially in Gaul and Colombo. He's just really good behind the stumps. I just think he's better than Butler. I think he's better than Bairstow. Fair enough, he probably doesn't give you the finishing abilities of Jos Buttler. He doesn't give you the power. He doesn't give you the ability to bat with the tail. But I just think he could offer a bit more stability in that English batting lineup. So I don't think they are actually going to swap out Butler for Folks. I was reading this thing in the news today. I think Chris Silverwood was being very defensive of Jos Buttler. He said that he's going to give him more time. So I don't think we'll see Ben Folks, unfortunately, for any Surrey fans out there, until at least the third test. But what do you think, Nikhil? Do you think that England will swap him out at some point? Because looking at his stats, again, Jos Buttler's another one since 2019, 23.2 average, 627 runs in 27 innings, and 3 scores above 50 with a lot of single-digit scores as well.
I don't think you're going to see Butler miss out in this series because I think he's the vice captain of England. And, funny enough, when you were talking about it today, I actually sat down and thought about it. I rather see Ben Folks come to the crease than Jos Buttler because when Butler's there, if he does get in, England are going to score very quickly, and that could change the complex of an entire game. So I still think Butler's a weapon there. Now, obviously, the question is, do you want the likes of Butler or do you want Joe Denley? But yeah, I don't think he's going to sit out this series because he's the vice captain. And, guys are coming off a long period without cricket. And I'm sure England like the leadership of Butler and the experience that he has in the squad. So I expect him to play all three.
Yeah, and I think Chris Silverwood pretty much alluded to that as well. So as much as the inner Ben Folkes fan in me wants him to play, I don't think he is going to play. But with regards to that point, it's the potential for Butler to kick off, isn't it, really? But yet we still haven't seen it. I'm trying to think when he last got a 50. Was it in the Ashes? Yeah, I think it was. It was at the Oval. I think it was in the 5th match against Australia. That's when he last got a 50-plus score. So it's been a while for Joss, but fingers crossed that he can get his act together. Now, let's move on to the second point of that, which was Stuart Broad. I think we've already talked enough about Broad, but who would you bring Broad in for? Who would you get rid of in that team?
I think it's a really tough one, to be honest. I think Mark Wood may have to sit, but you may see, England have a long series. They have a Pakistan series coming up, so there's going to be rotation. And they have depth on their bench, guys like Chris Watt, Sam Curran as well. So I think it could be Mark Wood, but don't be surprised if you see someone like a Joffer or a Jimmy Anderson even sit. Because I don't know if England have this strategy that they want to play Broad and Anderson one at a time. Because maybe with, rest, obviously Jimmy Anderson being 37 years old. So yeah, they have a lot of selection issues to think about. But regardless, I think, whichever bowling line that they put out there, they have so much depth, it's going to be dangerous. You could take out Anderson, Archer, and Wood, the 3 seamers there, and put in Waltz, Broad, and for example, Curran, and that's still a formidable bowling lineup. So I think they're good either way, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely think it could be Wood. What about you?
Well, yeah, good point about that. I mean, I could come into the England squad with my floaty 20-mile-an-hour off spinners and probably they'd still get the job done. But in terms of that, yeah, that's the one that I've really been pondering, actually. It's such a hard decision because you've got Jimmy Anderson, as you said, will probably need rest. We have got the Pakistan series coming up as well. He's 37, just come off of that injury, didn't he, from the South Africa tour. And for me, I think that he's actually probably most likely to miss out because there's been a lot of talk about the surface at Old Trafford. It's going to be quite dry and hard. There's going to be a bit of extra pace and bounce, as there usually is. That's what the talk from Sky Sports was. So realistically, you can't really see Wood or Arch being dropped for that, I don't think. Whereas with Jimmy Anderson, you've got the injury concerns, you've got the age into concerns, you've got the rotation into concerns. And not only that, if they want to continue to open the bowling of Jofra, the only rational step to take other than dropping Arch from the team entirely is to bring in Stuart Broad for Anderson. So I don't think it's going to be popular, but I think that would be the way forward with England. I think it will be a seam quartet of Stokes, Broad, Archer and Wood. I think that's what it's going to be for the second test.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, to be honest. But yeah, I think like the Broad decision, that's going to cause a lot of controversy around the world. But so it goes, you don't pick teams based on the public, you pick them on your strength. So as I said, Broad, Archer, Wood, Stokes is still a big handful for the West Indies to deal with. So whichever way they go, I think the West Indies are going to have a lot of work cut out for them.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we'll find out on Thursday, won't we? Hopefully, fingers crossed this time there won't be any big surprises. We could do without a big omission this time to kickstart the match. But going on to the third one, and then we'll round up this England kind of preview with Denley versus Crawley. But the inclusion of Dom Bess. So you mentioned this. I mentioned it earlier as well with Roston Chase nullifying him in the second innings. Do you think that Moeen Ali could be brought in for this test match? Because we saw his stats last time. I've got them here still, actually. Moeen Ali at Old Trafford, 16 wickets, 18.5 average and a strike rate 30 in 3 matches. Do you think we could see Moeen potentially appear in Manchester?
Personally, I think so, maybe. I don't know if England would do it. I mean, giving a youngster like Dom Bess one game and then dropping him, maybe a bit harsh. He didn't bowl that bad, but as you said, Roston Chase batted Dom Bess out of the game. I think, he could have caused a lot of problems for the rest of the batting lineup, but because he wasn't penetrating, credit to Roston Chase, he knew exactly what he was doing there. And I don't think we'll see Moeen Ali. I think they'll give Bess, he's a youngster, young guy coming through the system. He'll probably get one more game, and maybe in the third test, being at Old Trafford, then you might see the likes of maybe a Moeen Ali.
Yep, I'd agree with that. I would agree with that, definitely. Bess wasn't actually too bad. I think it was just the second innings, wasn't it? Because he bowled brilliantly in the first innings, 2 for 51, very tight. The ball to dismiss Shea Hope in particular just drifted outside the off. Beautiful bowling from an off spinner. But yes, now moving on to the big one. Denley versus Crawley, the battle between the two Kent teammates, which has been dominating the English news. If you have a look online and put in Joe Denley's name, there's pages upon pages of people calling for his exclusion from the team. What do you make of this battle, Nikhil?
Yeah, I think he's gone, to be honest. If you ask me after the first innings, maybe not. But now that Zach Crawley went on to get that 76, and it was really, he batted extremely well. Unlucky not to get the 100 because the way he was looking, if Stokes has stayed there with him, I think he would have got the 100. He batted extremely well. So I think that 76 keeps his place. Obviously, Denny not being able to kick on, get a 50 in the game. So I also, what Nasser Hussain was saying, obviously, Joe Denley being 31, Zach Crawley is a youngster. So all of these things into perspective, I think, Denley's going to miss out.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I'll just give you two examples of the camps you're in, really, for this decision. You've got Dominic Cork's view, which is Denley will be dropped for the game, but not dropped entirely from the squad. I'd probably agree with that, to be honest. I think Crawley does warrant his place. And then you've got the Michael Vaughan one, which is get rid of Denley completely, which I do disagree with. I think he does play a role in the team. Looking at his stats, he's also faced over 2,000 balls. It's the second most faced since 2019 in that England team, other than Joe Root. So I think there's definitely a role for him, but he's just not in form at all. And the thing that really stands out to me was that Zach Crawley innings. I put it on England's page. His footwork against Roston Chase's spin was absolutely immaculate. Did not put a foot wrong. He was absolutely incredible with his attacking shots, his defensive shots, front foot, back foot, whatever. He played the right shots in the scenario. And when you look at Zach Crawley, for example, Dom Sibley's another one, these two young guys, you can see in terms of their stats, in terms of the way in which they're playing and improving, there's a noticeable level of evolution and progression in their game. I'm looking at Joe Denley. That isn't happening. He is going in for a long time. He's facing a lot of deliveries. But you look at the ways in which he got out again, that in-swinging ball, lack of defence. You look at the second innings dismissal, very, very tame, cheap shot, an inopportune moment, and it cost England a lot of momentum. So for me, as much as I do advocate for Joe Denley, I like him, as I said, does not deserve to be completely just excluded from the squad entirely. But I think Zach Crawley will come in for him this time, and I think it will be Crawley at 3. Yeah. Well, Crawley, yeah, but as in Crawley takes his place in number 3, I think, and Root comes in at 4. But yeah, would there be any other changes that you'd make?
Sorry, I don't think so. I think the rest of the English team did pretty well. Especially Rory Burns, I was extremely impressed with him at the top of the order. Solid, really solid. Unlucky to be out in the 40s in both innings, but I think the fact that Crawley bats at 3 in county cricket and opens as well, he can face a new ball. So I think that's another reason why he's going to start at 3 and Root will come back in at 4. And I think with Root in that team, the West Indies I don't think England will collapse so easily now, because Root, obviously, we know is one of the best batters in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot to mention this. This was quite a funny little stat on Sky's coverage. That top 4 for England of Burns, Sibley, Crawley, and Denley was the most inexperienced English top 4 in terms of games played since 1989 in the 4-0 whitewash against Australia in the Ashes, which was obviously a good omen for the outcome of the game. But yeah, I agree. What do you think about Dom Sibley as well? Because a lot of people talk about Dom Sibley, maybe not the most orthodox of players, maybe not the most beautiful or elegant of players. What do you make of him as an opener for England?
No, I like him. I think the opener spot is something that England have had a problem with for a long time. Someone to partner as the cook. And I like these new crop of youngsters coming in, the Don Best, the Zach Crawley, the Sibley. They have a good group of young guys. And I think Sibley is good. One for the future for sure. Obviously unlucky in that first innings, but you actually saw an adjustment in the second innings. And for a player through that, he has to be very good, right? So, yeah, I think Sibley, he did very well in county cricket, and he deserves this spot. And that 50 just showed maybe a potential of something to, kick on. Obviously, he should have kicked on, and as soon as he got 50, gave it away. But still, I think, he's done well, and he looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a Warwickshire fan, I was absolutely gutted when he got out, because that he got a second reprieve, didn't he? Shannon Gabriel overstepped, and then he just tickled one down the leg side again. That is something that he needs to work on. He does need to learn to leave them, doesn't he? But saying that, though, we saw in South Africa, he had the weakness outside the third, fourth stump channel, and he's really improved that in his game as well by making, as you said, the adjustment. So, yeah, I agree. Sibley and Burns for me to open. Those two are fantastic. Love Dom Sibley, obviously, as a Warwickshire fan. 37.45 average. Not too bad after your first 7 games with a century. And, right, just an interesting question for you now, Nikhil. Okay. Right. What do you think that the West Indies need to improve upon heading into this match? I know they had a fantastic performance, but what would you say needs addressing heading into this second game in Manchester?
I think it's the top order, to be honest. In the second innings, 4-8-9-0. The top four batsmen. It's not good enough. The lower order always has to come and save us. 37, 95, 20, 14 not out. I think if the top order just is able, obviously Craig Brathwaite did well to get 65 in the first innings. John Campbell got a 20 odd. Shamar Brooks as well. So in the first innings, I was happy, but we know that the consistent problem is with the top order of the West Indies. If these guys can just string together a couple 50s, one of them go on to score 100, it then makes our batting look so much lengthier when these guys have to come in and can just beat around the old ball. So if the top order can get it right and Craig can maybe go on to score 100 or John Campbell could get a 50, someone like a Shamar Brooks who's capable, or even Shea Hope, I think then the West Indies will be in good stead because the lower order definitely is capable. It's just for the top order to, get it together, and I think we're going to be a formidable attack.
Yeah, definitely. And that's also heading into the future as well, isn't it, really? I mean, I know West Indies have probably not had the greatest decade, have they, in terms of the Test cricket, but there's a lot of positives. There is a lot of positives. And if, as you said, these chinks in the armour can almost be solved, I know that's a lot easier said than done. But as you said, if that top four can be solidified and strengthened and they can finally get some runs, you've got a cracking middle order, a bit like England, actually. The likes of Holder, Dow, Rich, Blackwood showed what he could do. Chase was fantastic in the second innings. But yes, I agree. And obviously, as we said, a lot is easy when you're not on the pitch, but definitely an area that I think they can improve as well. Also, I know this is going to be quite a strange question. What do you think could be done better by the bowlers?
They did not too much, to be honest. They did really well in the first test. I like the lines that they were bowling in terms of bowling full. What I'll probably say is being consistent at all times. Sometimes, through that Ben Stokes, Crawley partnership, that Nigeria partnership, you saw them tend to stir a bit. But obviously that will come. Shannon Gabriel bowling 36.5 overs. He's going to be tired. These guys are going to be exhausted. So, I think the West Indies bowling already stood out. They did a very good job. All of them, to dismiss England in both innings to take 20 wickets in the test. So not too much, to be honest. I was impressed, just probably to stay more focused and consistent in tough times.
Yep, definitely. And to Shannon Gabriel, try not to overstep. I mean, that is something that just crept in a few times, didn't it? Unfortunately, could have got an extra wicket. Well, actually, got the wicket in the end, didn't he? But yeah, other than that, brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the umpiring is a bit sketchy, but I guess the extra review still help account for that, and I guess the umpires are rusty. But you would have personally, I would have liked to see a lot more correct decisions going for both teams. I think there were way too many errors in that match.
It's funny you say that. It's the next question. What did you make of Kettleborough and Illingworth's performance? Sorry, the two Richards, and of course Michael Goff at third umpire. What did you think of the three officials for this game?
The third umpire, I think, let me start on him. There was only one thing that I was not too happy with. I can't remember which one it was, but Shannon Gabriel had overstepped. And I thought it was way too close for the decision to be overturned. They say that when it's too close on a no ball, the benefit all goes to the bowler. I thought you could not tell if a piece of his shoe was behind the line. I thought they should have gone with that. So that was the only reason I thought that was only reported to my third umpire. But we obviously know for the on-field umpires, I think it was about 10 decisions or more in the entire game that they got wrong. Have to do a better job. And I think this whole thing about having two, they should have neutral umpires or have one from England, one from the West Indies. One umpire from the West Indies, Joel Wilson, could have easily traveled with the West Indies team. So I don't think that's a great excuse. But nonetheless, I know it's not intentional. But yeah, I'm glad that they had the extra review to account for that. But still, Jay Soda should not have to review so many times to get a decision right, because you never know if he didn't review what could have happened.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We'll start off with Mike Goff at third umpire. As you said, I agree about the no ball. That was to Sibley. That was a Sibley dismissal, actually, funnily enough. So, yeah, don't know how to go about that. If we're being biased as an England fan, yes, it was a good decision, I suppose. But I agree, as a bowler, that shouldn't have been a no ball, I don't think, if you've got that much doubt. But other than that, I thought he was very good. He was succinct. He was clear. He was very good in terms of his actual coordination of the technology being used. And I thought he was probably the standout of the three. Now, in terms of the two on field, that's a bit of a different one. But as you said, I think we have to give them benefit of doubt. It's not just the players who are rusty. It's not just the commentators who are rusty as well, as was shown in a couple of times in the broadcast. It's the umpires as well. And I think we will give them benefit of doubt. It does need to improve, though, definitely. As you said, especially against the West Indies in that first innings, they were just... I don't even know how you describe it. I mean, it almost was biased, wasn't it? It was just absolutely awful umpiring.
Yeah.
But as we said, hopefully as that rust kind of wears off a bit, we'll see those two improve as well. But yeah, umpiring aside, let's talk about the big question for this match, Nikhil. Who do you think is going to win it?
It's a tough one because I know England will come back hard at the West Indies, but honestly, I can see the West Indies go on to win this, use the momentum, and go up 2-0. Probably England will win the third.
Right. Ooh, interesting. I'd actually go the opposite way. I think England will win this one, and knowing us, we'll get complacent and lose the third one. That's what I think will happen. But who do you think is going to be the standout player then in this match, heading into Old Trafford? Obviously, different conditions, different surface. Who do you think is going to stand out for the West Indies?
I think if Raheem Cornwall plays him, based on the conditions, just based on I like him as a player a lot. Probably with the bat, I'm looking at it, maybe Shamar Brooks, time for him to get 100. Someone like a Ross and Chase, these guys have been getting starts. So, yeah, look out for the two of those guys. Craig, maybe to get 100 as well. So I think one in this game, for sure, you'll see at least one West Indian get 100. The wicket will be a bit better, ball will come onto the bat a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that 100%. I would go with Craig Brathwaite. Personally, I think as the opening batsman showed a lot of promise in that first innings in particular. I think he'll probably be the key. And who do you think is going to be the key player for England?
Short Broad.
So you're convinced he's going to play?
Yeah, I think so. He'll come back in and show the world why he should have played the first. He's just that type of player. I loves when he has a point to prove. So that to me is a no-brainer.
Definitely. Talking of a point to prove, this is just slightly off topic. Did you see the whole Twitter spat between Jofra and Tino?
Yeah, I did.
What did you make of that?
I think it's not great in the middle of a match for that to happen. And I don't know, to be honest, if Tino is looking out for him or what it was, if there's a malicious intent behind it or anything. But I mean, I don't think Tino Jofra will know if he's over bowling, and I don't think to say his speeds have dropped. I don't think that's correct. He bowls a lot of overs, so in his second spell, third spell, fourth spell, you expect speeds not to be up there. And yeah, for Tino to say toothpaste bowling, I was kind of scared for the 50. I thought Jofra would have gone to take at 27 for 3 hours there, thinking like, oh my goodness. I thought he was going to take 7 and silence the haters. But thank God it didn't work out that way. And yeah, I hope that doesn't really happen again for the series.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one rule in cricket: don't sledge the fast bowler before he bowls. My goodness. I mean, yeah, almost backfired spectacularly, didn't it, by Tino? 3 for 42, I believe Jofra got after that, after going wicketless in the first. But yeah, a bit strange. Don't really think there's any need for it. But again, did it really affect anything? Arguable. So yeah, we'll just put that down to, I don't know, as I said, a Twitter spat. Hopefully it'll go no further than that. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the preview show, really, Nikhil. Have you got anything final to say? I know you've got some social media to plug, for example.
Yeah, guys, you could just follow me at Nick Uttam, Nikuttam. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to a great series. I thought the first test, in terms of people waited for cricket for so long, it was a really good climax. We saw some good cricket there, some good battles. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the West Indies competing in this second one and going on to win the series.
There it is. Yeah, I like the confidence. And I respect it. And I think that the West Indies probably will end up retaining the Wisdom Trophy. But yeah, as you said, it was fantastic, wasn't it, really? We finally got to see cricket again. And cricket was the winner. I know England weren't, but cricket as a whole was the winner, wasn't it, really? We saw a fantastic test match, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that quality continues heading into Manchester. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the preview show. All that's left for me to say is, Nikhil, thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on. You've got great insight, great analysis into the game. And obviously, I wish your team the very best of luck. Fingers crossed England win, obviously. But yeah, I wish the West Indies a lot of luck as well. They deserve to win the series opener, so fingers crossed they do well heading into this match. And to all of those who've tuned in, thank you as always for listening. And as always, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.